In the middle of 2022, a successful Kickstarter campaign was funded to bring a military-based dream project into reality. The 3 3/4 inch scaled G.I. Joe stylized brand known as Callsign Longbow brings about the feelings of nostalgia along with some excitement for a new independent franchise. We'd see 10 figures unlocked along with a few other key merchandise items during the Kickstarter, as well as an 11th figure unlocked during the project's post-Kickstarter backer kit phase, thus helping us flesh out our Callsign Longbow world a little bit more. After some unfortunate delays and a setback on anticipated release dates, the rollout was done in multiple phases, with the first figure release dropping during the fall of 2024. For backers of the Kickstarter, that in particular included the highly anticipated Ghost figure, and some items were available a little bit earlier, such as the first issue of their comic book, a set of patches, and a set of clear figure stands. Joining me for this video is Troy McKie, one of the co-founders of Grindstone Toys and the Callsign Longbow toy line, and he'll be sharing some detailed insights about the line so far and what to expect going forward. One thing I want to point out is that this won't be your standard review. What I wanted to do here today was to shine a spotlight on this brand, its potential future, and the world that's being built around its characters. So let's begin.
So the world of Longbow, like we're telling the story as we can in the comics, but we have a much kind of deeper plan for that, right? Because we've got a brand Bible that's got, you know, information about all the characters, about the organizations, about how those interact. We've got a lot going forward. But as far as the actual world of Longbow, it's very much a period piece. It's set in the mid 80s. Into the late 80s, and we're playing with kind of an alternate version of Cold War history. It gives us the benefit of we get to keep the things that we want to keep, and we can change things that we want to change, which is a lot of fun from a storytelling perspective, and it lets us do some unique stuff. Longbow is a military unit. It's a military high adventure story is kind of how we describe it.
The comic does feature several covers, and what's shown here is the Kickstarter exclusive with the more retro style cover. And here's the inside cover to show the members of the creative team, including Troy's co-founding partner at Grindstone Toys, John Kukovich. You're introduced to some characters right away, such as Lancer, the field leader, Outlaw for close quarters combat who is also a SWAT expert, and Uptown, specializing in air assault and communications. I've pointed out these three as they were unlocked during the Kickstarter campaign. Spoiler alert, during Callsign Longbow's opening mission, our heroes find themselves face to face with Alexei Volk Reznikov of the villainous faction, and you get a tense, exciting showdown between Lancer and Reznikov later on in the issue. The comic does a lot to set things up while leaving you wanting more as future issues get made. There's just enough here to draw you into the characters and let you trust the fact that the creators here know what they are doing. That said, the comic also introduces us to characters not part of the Kickstarter campaign, thus fleshing out their character roster more for upcoming waves. That includes many of the characters shown in the opening pages that are interacting with the ones that we did get during the Kickstarter campaign.
We do want to get characters like Ridge and Stinger, you know, kind of the command element, and we want to get the other operators in there. You know, Coyote, Gator, Double Tap, Boxcar. We've got a couple of different avenues for doing that, so it's just a matter of finding where they're going to fit best.
While the opening issue of the comic introduces Callsign Longbow's heroes as well as Reznikov's Russian faction, the first figure to make its way into our hands would be the Ghost figure. Note that the Ghost figure does reuse tooling from the Skeletron Wolf Trooper that was released earlier on in 2024. Specifically, the legs, waist, and arms are the same, as are two of the weapons. The torso and head are unique, as are the backpack and the large clear shield. Ghost is a very good figure overall. Now, some people have reported issues like the claw-bladed weapon not tabbing in perfectly to the backpack, assuming of course that you don't hold it in his hand. And the head's rotational movement is a tad limited compared to other O-ring figures. And if you decide to put the shield on his back instead of in his hand, it'll make the figure back heavy, so make sure you use the figure stand with it in this scenario. He has the same standard articulation as other O-ring style figures, so we certainly don't need to go over that in too much detail, but he also includes swivel wrists that we are seeing more and more in the modern age for the retro style O-ring figures that we're getting. Do take note that Ghost is actually not part of either the Longbow faction nor Reznikov's Russian faction, but in fact part of a third faction known as Steel Web.
Yes, Steel Web is very different from the American-Soviet factions. It's going to be a bit more of a slow burn as we introduce them in the comics. They're very mysterious. We don't have a lot of details that we've shared so far, and we're going to play that one pretty close to the vest. The thing, though, that you can tell, especially with that Ghost figure in comparison to the other characters, is Steel Web's big strength is that they are very technologically advanced. And there is kind of a shift in strength between the factions, right? Longbow and the American side, they are very well trained. They got great equipment. They got great operators. They're very skilled. The Soviets have strength in numbers, right? They have raw power. They have, tons of troops. Steel Web is very much, like I said, the technically advanced faction, more so than the other two. So, just kind of interesting to see how those play off of each other in conflicts. So, like I said, we're going to play that one pretty close to the vest, but that's definitely something to keep an eye on with Steel Web, is they're very technologically advanced.
And before we move on, one thing I do want to ask is, if you happen to like this video and you want to see more content like this, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel, press that like button, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future Toy Connections video content. Yes, it's a small effort for you, but it'll go a long way towards helping me with growing this channel. This initial offering also included a set of patches, including the Marauder Retro Ops style patch, since some of the work is done in collaboration with the Marauder toy line and company, as well as we get the standard Callsign Longbow patch itself. And there's also the clear set of battle stands, which you can elect to open if you prefer these over the black colored ones. And with the aforementioned delays to the project's delivery time for the remaining items, it's important to know that the people behind the toy line are open to communicating with their backers, as well as learning from past experiences to ultimately deliver a long-lasting toy line over the coming years.
Projects had delays. As one thing gets backed up, it causes a chain reaction. We get backed up a little bit. That's why it was so important for us when Ghost came in that we wanted to get that shipped out, and that's why we decided, even though we hadn't collected funds to do multiple shipments, we were going to go ahead and ship that one out at our cost and any items that we had in stock, because people have been waiting and we wanted to get whatever we could into their hands right away. Like, we know this is taking longer than you'd like. It's taking longer than we'd like. Right now we at least are on the factory schedule. So we have an idea of when they're thinking they're going to get us stuff. That's a step in the right direction and forward progress for us, because we haven't always had kind of a time frame like that. So we're making forward progress. It's just, we understand it's frustrating. It's disappointing. We were hoping we'd have pretty much everything before the end of this year, and it just did not work out that way. But we're keeping on it, and the factory is continuing to push forward on it. One of the nice things about the setup that we have right now with the factory is, they are kind of relearning how to do O-ring, because it is not something that has been an industry standard for a while. And our factory has told us that as we continue to move through this process, they are getting better and better at the O-ring figures, and that they are making improvements as we go. Little improvements, things, with the plastic sheen, the way that the accessories fit together, little things like that you don't give a lot of thought to. They feel like they are getting better as each one goes. The Wolf Trooper was fantastic. We made some improvements on that tooling even before we got Ghost out. And they're continuing to take those lessons forward on future figures.
In an era now where fans have entered the toy making industry, a lot of buyers will buy multiple independent O-ring lines. Naturally, they'll amalgamate these figures with the likes of Strike Force Alpha, the available Skeletron O-ring figures that we've got, and of course, Delta 17. The Ghost figure has a nice sheen to him, just like the Delta 17 figures, which is kinda cool. Even with my own direct ties and involvement with Delta 17, it's still fun seeing the growth of Callsign Longbow as a toy brand, and I encourage those out there to support Troy and John on this venture as we all work jointly together to bring you the best 3 3/4 inch scaled figures that we can. Hopefully with this video, we can ease some concerns that buyers might have regarding delivery times for these figures and trust that there's still lots of plans down the road to continue Callsign Longbow as a toy line.
So we've got plans to continue past the Kickstarter, obviously, with figures. We've been pretty public about telling people that we're going to move to a model where we're doing smaller assortments. We're shooting for 4 figures in an assortment because that's easier for the factory to get in and fit us in between other projects. That's kind of what we're looking for on a logistical level. As far as like a character level, we're wanting to introduce additional factions, but we also want to get all of those characters that you saw in issue 1 of the comic. And we're working on issue 2 of the comic right now, and we're introducing a bunch more characters. So we've got a lot of characters that we want to get out eventually. And we will be peppering those in as we go forward, you know, based on tooling and what we can afford and where we can fit stuff in. But we definitely want to get to those characters. We know people are reading the comic. We've gotten a lot of good feedback about the comic. We know people have been reading the bios that we have on the website. So we want to get those characters out there. And, you know, that's one of our focuses right now. But we need to balance that because we still want to get army builders out there because people like army builders. We want to get some of those more kind of out there, interesting characters, you know, get some sci-fi stuff in there, get some, you know, Krasny Ninja love in there, that kind of stuff. You know, going forward, it'll still be balanced, but we definitely want to get to those other characters.
You can find all the links in the description below for Callsign Longbow, as well as Skeletron and other similar toy brands, so check them out if you already haven't. You'll probably be impressed at what they all have to offer. And if you enjoyed this video, don't go anywhere just yet. I've got another video here regarding another independent toy company, which you can click on right over here, or to have a look at some toy histories, you can click on this playlist right over here. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.